Hello. I'm gonna transplant some stuff. We're gonna start with tomatoes. So this is seed starting mix, and this is actual potting soil. Just putting it into this. They call it a bag, but it's like a fabric pot. It's 3 gallons. Hi. Hi, little girl. Her name is Chicken. Okay, we're getting there, guys. This pot that I'm using to fill this up ain't very big. I actually brought gloves so I didn't get my hands dirty, and I didn't even put them on, so it's too late now. I'll just wash my hands when I'm done. So this is a tomato, and I just watered them. So it's a little too wet, but it'll be okay. We're not going to kill it or nothing. I think I'm going to go ahead and put just a little more in there. I mean, if we have to, we can do something like put this one in here and put the dirt around it. And you just want to put it in there loosely. You don't want to like stomp it down or anything like that. That way your roots don't have to fight against the dirt to grow. It'll just make a healthier plant, a happier plant. The roots actually like air, which is weird because you would think being underground they wouldn't much care, but it helps, I guess, keep them pruned to like the air. The roots kind of like know what the wind and stuff feel like, so they kind of like stop growing when it gets a little too windy because they know they're out of their pot or structure. So it helps keep the plant the size you want it. Because like with this, if you plant any sort of plant in the ground, it's going to have all the space in the world. Its roots can go literally anywhere in the dirt, so it will definitely be like, I don't know how to explain it. I guess, yeah, I'm on the right track. So if you plant a plant in the ground, its roots can literally grow anywhere in the ground. Unless there's like concrete or something like that blocking it, clay maybe. And that's where tilling, like if you were to actually do it in the ground, you would till the ground first. Kind of make it airy like this. But with a pot, obviously the roots only have so much area to grow. So the plant will only grow so big, like so for this pot, the plant will only grow as big as the roots will allow it. So it's not going to be as big as if I planted it in the ground per se, but I don't really want one that giant. I did that last year and it was just too much. So this year I'm kind of keeping it small and simple. Tomatoes, they're a lot easier to control too because they like love to grow everywhere. And if you don't have as much time to prune stuff, then a pot would be better because it, like I said, will only grow as big as the container will allow it to. And you won't have all that extra growth and overhang and just stuff you don't want that you forgot to pick when it was little. So, we're going to start by putting a tomato in here. And we're going to cover it up to its leaves. Like its leaves will look like they're actually touching the dirt, but they'll be like half a centimeter away from the dirt. Because you want to give them plenty of room to grow, and this will allow the stem that's already grown. It's a little seedling, it's about that big, you'll see. And it will allow that stem to also grow roots. So instead of, it being just starting where the roots are now, it'll have about that much more room to grow. Because you don't want to put them clear at the top, because then they'll come up and they'll get like sunburnt and stuff. And that'll kill your plant too. And you don't want to do it too low either, because then you take the risk of there's not enough room, and then the water sits in the bottom, and then you get root rot, and it's stinky and yucky, and your plant is pretty much, might as well throw out the whole pot. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and tear this off here. Now that was a Jiffy Seed starting greenhouse kit I bought, and it has seed starting mix in it. It don't have soil in it. So they say you can just plant these Jiffy pots straight in the ground, and I mean you can. I've seen the roots literally grow through them, but I just don't like to do that. I don't like to make it harder for the roots to grow, if that makes sense. So also, as this tomato plant grows, we will add dirt to it too, and that'll help the roots as well. So I just peel these off. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Just kind of try to, you don't want to disturb the roots as much as possible. And like I said, I just watered these this morning, so I didn't give them time to kind of dry out a little bit, but it seems like it's doing okay. If I see a root, I'll kind of leave that piece because I don't want to hurt the root, kill the plant. Like I said, disturb it as little as you can. Oops, and there will be less plant shock, if any at all. So I saw some roots there kind of snagged on this, but they loosened up, so I went ahead and took it off. And we're just going to plant that. And now we're just going to fill the dirt up, like I said, to about half a centimeter below the leaves. And you can just hold it up while you put dirt around it. I mean, a lot of people think that they're fragile when you're planting them, and they are to a point. Like, you don't want to cut their roots or anything like that. You don't want to break them, nothing like that, but you don't gotta necessarily, they're not that fragile. And that's another thing, is if you start seedlings inside and you plan on growing them outside, you need to, like, 2 hours a day for like a week, just take that plant outside and let it get sunlight, and it's called hardening it. And what it'll do is it'll make it be able to withstand like wind and stuff like that. If you don't do that, they pretty much just turn yellow and die because it's just too much. You just burn them up. And then the wind knocks them down and everything. So you don't want all that. Okay. That little guy is done for today. And we'll give him some water. And then, like I said, as it grows, we'll just add the dirt around the stem as it grows until it gets to the top. And then the seedling will, you know, grow as big as the container will allow it. Water. And we're just going to repeat this process until we get them all done. Now, I am going to do jalapenos in 5-gallon plastic buckets like you can get at like hardware stores, like Lowe's and stuff, Home Depot. And we've got to, I'm going to do a whole nother video on that because it's a whole different process. It's a little cheaper that way. So if that's what you prefer for cheaper, I don't blame you. That's why I'm showing everybody a couple different ways, so that way you can't like say, well, you only showed me this way. I want it to be open. I want you guys to show me new ways, tell me new ways in the comments. If you want notifications that I'm uploaded a video, I'm live, any of that stuff, you can subscribe and then ring the bell, and that will give you notifications. And this is going to be the second tomato plant, so I'm just going to do this with this tomato plant, and then I'll finish with 2 more and we'll be done. Also, if you have like questions about each thing I'm using, like this Jiffy pot, I'm going to go ahead and upload some shorts, one for each thing I've used while on this video. That way, if anybody has questions about anything, I won't miss it, and I can, like, you can ask me directly under the post. You can ask me here too, it's not a big deal, but also, if you guys want to see anything, have any questions, myths, I'm gonna do a video a little later on a myth. Is it fact or myth? And, you know, we'll kind of like a Mythbusters type thing, but not with all the science, because I'm not a scientist like them. Also, I have some pebbles back here, and the reason I have those is because if you want to, you can put like a layer of like river rock pebble on the bottom, and then put the dirt on top of that. And what that does is it creates like more space for the water to drain, because it can drain through the rocks, and then it's not just like sitting in the bottom with your roots, so there's less chance of root rot with it. And that's basically all the whole point of it. I mean, it's pretty simple, but a lot of people don't know that, or they do, and they just, it's an extra step, it's extra money, so it's not necessary, but it kind of does help in a way, in the fact that it makes you feel more secure if you overwater, if you're an overwaterer, or if you, like, are not good at schedules, or, like, you just need to make sure that you're not overwatering it, or underwatering it even, and it will ease your mind, because your roots aren't sitting there in water if you overwater. Because if I overwater, I'm like, goodness gracious, what do I do? Sometimes I'll get a towel and soak some up, and sometimes I'll, like, tilt the plant so all the water runs out of one of the holes, stuff like that, because overwatering isn't as bad for me. I don't run into that problem as much as underwatering, because I'm always afraid that they're gonna get, like, yucky roots and die on me, so I don't like that. I don't want my plants to die, especially if I'm trying to help you guys learn how to do this in a simple, cheap way. And like I said, I don't want to make it, like, so expensive that you guys are like, well, this ain't cheap anymore. But I do want to give people options as well. If they decide that that's something that they want to do, then they can decide that on their own. Almost. Got a little hole for the plant made. I'm getting there. Like I said, I'm just kind of, like, loosely putting it in there. I'm not, like, packing it down, because it makes it harder for the roots to grow. They like a little air. But like I said, whenever they get too much air, they know to stop growing, and it helps you prune. A little different than if you grow it in the ground. Now these pots, I know, the fabric pots, you can put in the ground and they're fine. They're like, they'll biodegrade after like 4 or 5 seasons and all that. But I don't know the logistics as to, like, does it still prune if you put it in the ground and plant it in this and then plant it in the ground? Because I would think that the roots would just, like, grow through it eventually and grow into the ground. And I think that's what they want if that were to happen, so. Plastic. That's wonderful. Good thing I do this. I'm just kind of scooting it around. I'm not pushing on it or anything. And then I take the clumps and just kind of break them up into loose dirt. I don't really like clumps that much either. Okay. That's good enough for me for now. That way it's about in the middle. And once again, Jiffy pot, and just peel the sides off. Like I said, watch for roots. That way you don't rip any roots. It won't necessarily kill them if you did, but way, way, way bigger chance of shock. And once again, we just kind of cover it up and fill it up to about a 1/2 centimeter. I mean, a very tiny, tiny amount below the leaves. Now, this is a 40-pound bag of soil, and we've done about 2 tomatoes, in 3-gallon pots, and we've filled them about halfway full. So it's about 1.5 gallons at this point. And like I said earlier, we will fill it as they grow. You never want them to be like you want to fill it as they grow until it gets full, instead of just like planting them. Like, I wouldn't want to fill this full and put the plant flush like this, because then you're going to have roots that come up, and those roots are going to get fried and kill your plant. So, I mean, they are, to a point, they're fragile, but, I mean, I've seen videos of people just throwing a seed out in the actual desert, no water, nothing, and somehow it grew roots and found water, and it grew in the desert. They just left it there, came back, and it was a plant. Now, was it skanky and probably not very, I guess you would say, strong and CBD and terpenes and all the beneficial stuff, but it grew. So they're kind of hard to mess up. Now, tomatoes and medical marijuana are about the exact same when it comes to growing them. They are pretty much the same type of plant. I mean, they're not. Like, a tomato and a medical marijuana plant are completely different, but they're like growing conditions and what they need and want and all that stuff to make them happy is, for the most part, pretty much the same. Now, I eat my tomatoes, obviously, so I do not use any fertilizer, pesticides, anything like that. So it's, in my eyes, considered organic. And they send a packet of Super Thrive. It's some sort of fertilizer. It's a powder. You mix it in a gallon of water, and it's for the seeds when you start them. And it's like, I'm guessing, like a little fertilizer, has nutrients in it. And I do not use that either. So now, if it was like flowers, yeah, because I don't consume those. And that one's done too. We'll water it, and then we will set it up. The other part about this is that it's a little early to be planting, and it can freeze still. And so, if there's a freeze warning or watch or any of that, we can pick them up, take them inside. They're good. Put them back out in the morning when it warms back up, and it will not hurt them. So I'm going to do 2 more plants, and we're good for the day. Later on, I'm going to do, I think it's 4 jalapenos. They're the ones in the bigger pots back here. So they're ready for new homes as well.